Things are better now. Don't you cry, dry your eyes. Things are better now. You made it through. Cheers to you. You feel better now. Oh, I feel so much better now. All of the dark clouds that they have passed me by. Yeah, I feel so much better now. Life is tough and a little rough, but things will get better. Yeah, you'll make it through. Cheers to you. Yeah, you feel better now.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the Dr. Dare Show live on this Friday night on April 22nd. Thank y'all for joining in. Happy Friday. Don't forget, when you log in, please click like and share this video. Tonight we are talking about childhood hurt and the impact of social media on our lives. So we give everybody until like 8:40 to join in, and then we'll get started. But when you come in, click share and like, and let us know how your week has been. The questions for tonight are: do you feel like you've recovered from what hurt you as a child? And number two, has social media impacted the way you view your life? Do you feel like you are not enough due to looking at your friends' goals and accomplishments online? Do you get depressed based on the things that you see? And those are the things that we will be talking about. This is kind of an open forum tonight. Yes. So give everybody a chance to come in, and welcome, welcome, welcome. I am finally getting settled into my new place. I still have to go purchase a new bed. I sold my other bed because it was just too big to be in this room, and I wanted a new bed, so I'll be looking for that. But yeah, and just putting together. But the week is better now. I'm getting situated, learning my new place and learning the area. Even though I'm only a few blocks away, it just seems like it's a lot. But yeah, I'm getting adjusted to it. But welcome, welcome, welcome. We have two good topics tonight. We're back to our Topic Hop Friday. We're talking about, hey, Tanil, thanks. Yeah, I'm loving the new place. It's just, change is really hard when you've been somewhere I was at that place since 2011. So now I'm like, oh my gosh, I miss the area and the places around there that I was just so used to, but I have to force myself to find new places. So change is hard, but welcome, welcome, welcome everybody. We have two good topics tonight. Number one, do you feel like you have recovered from what hurt you as a child? And number two, has social media impacted the way you view your life? Do you feel like you are not enough due to looking at your friends' goals and accomplishments online? Do you get depressed looking at those things? Those are the things that we will be talking about. We will be starting at 8:40. But when you come in, tell us how your week has been. Tell us anything you want to share, and how's life been treating you. And Tennille, thanks for purchasing my book. Tell your mom and dad. Your dad. Well, I talked to your dad. Well, he texted me and he was telling me he had already read the whole book. I was like, wow. But yeah, working on a second book already on grief and loss for my TikTok audience. That's the thing I think they need, is to hear more about grief and loss and how to process that. And so I'm working on that. But glad everybody is on tonight. Happy birthday to Neil. Happy belated birthday. I told you happy birthday on your birthday. Hopefully you did something fun and exciting. I didn't. I was so tired from that move. I didn't do anything. Fighting with this cold and all of that stuff. But yes, we are here. We are here. We are back. Hopefully everybody had a good Easter last week. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, Pat. How are you? How are you? Hopefully you're feeling better. Thank you. You can hear it, Pat, in my nose. Hopefully you feel better too. Yeah, just congestion. And I haven't had a cold like this in a long time. I think it was all of the dust from moving, and I had so many clothes that I had to take to Goodwill. And I told myself, don't ever do that again. That was ridiculous. One day at a time. Yeah, that's all we can do. That's all we can do. That's all we can do. And I want to thank everybody who's purchased my book. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm going to do a book signing here in Atlanta and then a book signing in Virginia. I've just been so busy now that the move is all kind of situated. I can start planning that. And Pat, I might want you to come down to Virginia. We'll talk about that offline. But yeah, if that's possible, we'll talk about that. But yeah, just welcome everybody to tonight's show. We will be discussing, do you feel like you have recovered from what hurt you as a child? And then number 2, has social media impacted the way you view your own life? Do you feel like you are not good enough due to looking at your friends' goals and accomplishments online? And do you get depressed from looking at other people's success and life online? And those are the things that we will be talking about tonight. And we will start in 4 minutes, because we usually start at 8:40. And so, Pat, how's school and everything going for you? Any help you need, you can just email me, text me, or whatever. I can help you. Pat is becoming doctor as well, so she's working through that. Yay. Excuse me, I will be coughing probably. Yeah. Oops. But welcome. We have 2 good topics, I think, for tonight. Do you feel like you have recovered from what hurt you as a child? And number 2, how has social media impacted the way you view your own life? Do you feel like you are not enough due to looking at your friends' goals and accomplishments online? And do you get depressed doing so? Welcome. Hey, Karen, how was your week? Welcome, everybody. I see the numbers are up there. Welcome to the show tonight. We got 2 good topics that I think probably everybody has been impacted some way or other by either social media or by some childhood trauma or something. And so I thought these were 2 topics that were good, while I'm getting our new guest prepared to greet us maybe in May, I think, because since the month of April is already over. So what we'll do tonight is, if you want to chime in, you want to share your story, share things that happened to you, or just let us know if you have gotten over that childhood thing, or how social media impacts you. Okay, so we got 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Karen said I had a rough week, but it's getting better. It's Friday. Tell me about it. Oh, I'm telling you, moving while you're older is a big difference. And I know that sounds probably silly, but it just was a big toll. It felt like it was a lot, and a lot of change, and a lot of leaving old stuff behind and giving away stuff and getting acclimated to the new environment. It's just a lot. I think I'm just getting older. That's what it is. But thank God we are all here. There's been so many deaths we see online and in families, and it's we're just grateful to be here. Yeah. So yeah, how's your week? How's your week been, Pat? How's your week been, everybody that's out there? I'm looking for my cough drops because yeah. Welcome. Yeah, Pat. Yeah, Pat says no, it's not silly. When we are young, we have more energy. Yes, and I just felt drained for the last 2 weeks. I'm finally, I'm getting up the energy back. But last week and the week before, oh. And Karen says, I do not envy you as far as moving goes. Nothing thought about moving gets more challenging as you get older. Yes. Oh my God. And I even had movers. That's the that's the thing. But I did all the prep work for the move, and that's what caused it. Okay. So 8:40, we are here. Our first topic, our first part of the question is, do you feel like you have gotten over your childhood hurt as a child? And join in when you want. What is happening? Okay, there we go. Oops. I clicked something. Sorry. Yeah. So the first part of the question is, do you feel like you've gotten over your childhood hurt? Anybody want to share their stuff? In my book, and I won't discuss all of that on this show because I am going to have someone come in and interview me regarding my book. So I won't talk about that part. But I would say I do feel like I've gotten over childhood hurt. It took a while. It took a while to process everything and to understand actually how my childhood really does impact, or how your childhood really does impact your adulthood. So anybody want to share their experiences out there? Let me put this on the screen. It says, do you feel like you have recovered from what hurt you as a child? And Pat says, I haven't gotten over my childhood trauma. And Donna, thank you. Your week has been good. Good. I just saw that. Hey, sis. So, Pat, you feel like you haven't gotten over childhood trauma. How do you feel like it has impacted you? Because what happens when the thing is, when stuff happens to us as a child, like especially kids that lose their parents, like they die their parents die when they're very young. Hey, Tanya Futrell. Am I echoing for everybody, or is that echoing for just Karen? Let me know if I'm echoing for everybody, or is that just echoing for Karen? So yeah, do you feel like you have recovered from what hurt you as a child? So what I was saying is, especially children who've lost like their parents at a young age, I think unless you go to a therapist and talk it out, and your parents, okay, so no echoing from Karen, you might want to check your line. Yeah. And so there is when you lose a parent growing up and you're a young child, that I feel like that impacts the rest of your life, especially if you don't go and seek some kind of therapy from that. That's a big one. Church life can impact your life negatively as a child, if things are not done the right way. If you're always being punished and told that you're a sinner and told that you know you have to do this certain way and that, so those things are hard for children to kind of interpret and understand. Um, Anybody want to share their hurt? What's some of the things that hurt you as a child that stands out? And what else? I know death of a parent definitely, because I see that all the time in therapy and how it really just lingers on. Okay, and then Pat says I was raised by a single mother who verbally abused me. So you had verbal abuse, and that is a big one. And verbal abuse is constantly calling your children names, telling them they can do something, and then um, ridiculing them for doing the things, always making fun of them. Because what that does is when you grow up, that kind of makes you afraid to try new stuff. You have a lot of anxiety, especially from verbal abuse. And Pat, you said you were also uh, sexually abused as well. And sorry for that. And thank you for being vulnerable and sharing that um, on live here. So Pat, how do you think that has impacted your life now as an adult? Um, and so let me tell you a little bit about people who've been sexually abused. So some things, there's this really good book that I tell everybody to read. When you're sexually abused, you act out in so many different ways. The people that you think you call them whores or whatever that sleep around all the time and they're always sleeping with someone. Usually, most times, those are the people who've had some kind of sexual trauma, sexual molestation, or something like that. Or the opposite end of that is when the person doesn't want to have sex at all and they don't want to be touched at all, and they've usually had some type of sexual trauma or sexual abuse. So they go from one extreme, one end of the spectrum to the other. Either they oh, you were the opposite, Pat, right? So they go from either one extreme to where they just sleep around with everybody, or the other extreme of where they don't want to be touched at all, and sex is this horrible thing that they don't really want to participate in, and they don't really get anything out of it. So always remember that when you're dating someone and they're maybe cheating all the time, there may be a cause to that. There may be some other reason that they're doing that. And Pat, she's the opposite end. She said, I didn't sleep around. I was the opposite. So it probably was a struggle for you to have relationships dealing with that. And so this is how, the first thing I ask you when you come into therapy is like, how was your childhood? How was the communication in your home? How was, did you feel like you could freely be yourself or not? And so, yeah. Anyone else? Pat, you say you were alone for many years. Did you leave your house, or are you saying, oh, you were alone in relationship wise? That's what you're saying. So many things impact our childhood. And Tanya said, oh yeah, hey cuz, I'm glad you joined tonight. Yes, in the relationship wise. Okay, Pat. Yeah. So always remember that. And I can't find, my books are packed away, but there's this really good book for people that I usually give to people who've experienced sexual trauma. And it just shares like either the person, they gave testimonies in there where the person was like, they were just sleeping around. They didn't know why. It didn't matter who it was. They were just sleeping with them. And they had sexual trauma, and or the opposite, they actually couldn't stand sex, and they would just do it just to please their partner, but they would kind of disassociate themselves, like go off into la la land while they're having sex, and then once it's over, they would come back into the reality. So they weren't really enjoying it. It was just an act for them. Pat says, yes, in the relationship, wow, my childhood was like a roller coaster. Okay, Pat. So you had verbal abuse, sexual abuse. Do you feel like your mom was there to like nurture you, or you didn't get that from your parent? And see, what we don't realize is, as parents, we train our children to be who they're going to be as an adult. So if you're not providing them with the nurturing that they need, if they're not getting their needs met, if you're constantly telling them to be quiet and you're not allowing them to express themselves, because that's the difference between African American culture and Caucasian culture. Is most, and I don't want to generalize, this is some in our culture, we always telling our kids to be quiet. We don't let them express ourselves. We express themselves. We keep their emotions at bay. And then when they grow up to adults, they don't know how to express themselves. They don't know how to communicate in a positive relationship or in a positive way. And then we don't understand why us as Black people or brown people, struggle with expressing emotions in relationships. That's why a lot of times we have a lot of communication issues in our relationships, because we weren't allowed as children to express ourselves. So if anybody out there have young children, please allow them to speak, allow their emotions to be heard. That old saying where children they need to be seen and not heard, I don't agree with that. And Pat says, my mother wasn't emotionally available growing up. And see, that leads to a lot of, you don't know how to regulate your emotions. You don't know how to, not saying you, Pat, but in general, you struggle with a lot of being able to just communicate your emotions. If somebody hurts you, you instead of communicating that, you just get mad and hold it in and don't talk to them for days. And you wonder why. All of this comes from our childhood. The way we learn to handle problems in childhood is the way we handle problems in adulthood, and it doesn't work, right? So think of this. Whatever way, say for instance, if you were a little kid and you were getting verbally abused and people telling you to shut up all the time, picking on you and all of that stuff, and you couldn't say nothing back, and the only way to get through that time period was to go and isolate yourself and hide in the corner. Guess what you're going to do when you're faced with that same thing as an adult? You're going to actually want to go and run and hide and not be able to communicate about the situation, because that worked for you as a child, but that's not going to work for you as an adult, especially if you're in a romantic relationship. Your partner wants you to be able to communicate with them, Thank you. Yep. Because I hate that term too. Because that's how a lot of children get in predicaments, and you don't know anything about it. Like they get molested because you've told them you should be quiet, and you're a child. You keep your mouth shut. That's not fair. Children have the same emotions that adults do. They should be able to express those emotions. And see, Pat, you said you were angry during your experience. How did you express that? How did you express that anger? And did you feel like nobody was listening or there for you? And Karen says, I was bullied in school through 8th grade for being smart and creative. I was the perfect student, a child prodigy. The bullying happened in school, but I was encouraged and nurtured at home. So confusing. So how did you handle the bullying? And Karen, how do you feel like that has impacted your life as an adult? So I've put a whole bunch of questions out there. One to Pat is like, what was that anger from, and how did you express that? And then Karen, how did that bullying actually impact your adulthood? So if you just joined, y'all, we're talking about the childhood hurt and how is it impacting us now? And what we've been saying is that a lot of stuff that we suffered or experienced in childhood, um, it carried over into adulthood, and it may have made us not be emotionally stable in relationships. I was saying that statement of children being seen and not heard is a bad statement, because you're telling your children that they can't express emotions. And then what happens in the Black culture and the brown culture is, I hear women now saying they have men that won't express emotions. Yeah, because our parents told us men don't express emotions. They have to take the pain and process and deal with it and just suffer with it. And now it's coming back to bite people in the butt, because now you're stuck with an adult person that doesn't know how to communicate their emotions effectively and healthy in a relationship. And then we also talked about sexual trauma. I just want everybody to get this. Hopefully they'll replay it back. Is usually a person that's had some kind of sexual trauma goes from one extreme to the other. They usually have sex all over the place, and you're wondering, what am I doing wrong? Why am I making such and such cheat? And that it has nothing to do with you. They probably had some kind of past sexual trauma. And then the other spectrum, of the other end of that, is that either they don't want to have sex and don't want anybody to touch them, so they go from one extreme to the other. So I'm going to put Karen's up here. So Karen says I'm going to reiterate hers. She was bullied in school through 8th grade for being smart and creative. She was the perfect child, a child prodigy. The bullying happened in school, but I was encouraged and nurtured at home. And so I wanted to know how that impacted. And Pat says, as a teenager, I expressed my anger by arguing instead of speaking. So Pat, were you one of those ones that just kind of went off? Like most of us growing up, the only thing we knew is if somebody kept picking with us, was to just explode in that anger and cuss somebody out or be ready to fight. And see, doing that as a teenager may have been the way you cope with it, but as an adult, guess what? You go to a job and you're trying to, your manager is telling you to do something, and you don't like it. Guess what? If you haven't learned how to express those emotions, the first thing you're going to do is, just like you did, exactly, be explosive to that manager. You often wonder why a lot of people get fired from jobs over and over and over again, because they are using what they used as a child to cope with the problem. They're doing that in their adulthood in a work environment, and it's not going to work. Like you can't go to a work environment and every time somebody asks you to do something, you just go into this rage because you don't want to do it. Guess what? That's going to get you fired. That's going to be problematic. As therapists, when we see things, the way we look at things is, if something is impacting your functionality, say for instance, you're getting fired over and over and over and over again, you probably need to talk to a therapist, because that means there is something that you are doing in your place of employment, your school, your home that's creating chaos for you. So Pat says, I learned how to communicate from a neighbor who was always there for me. So actually somebody listening and letting you communicate and get your emotions out was what helped you, Pat, is what I hear you saying. And yes, anger, when you hold that anger in and you don't know how to release it, that's what you do. You explode. And I think that's the easy way out, is to just explode. Good stuff. But we take a lot of stuff from our childhood and we carried it over into adulthood, and we don't even realize that that's what creates some of our problems that we have in our relationships, our friendships. Um, yeah. So even me just figuring that out was a challenge. And it wasn't easy because you don't see it. Like if you're in it and it's you, you don't see it. But other people see it. And that's why sometimes you'll get strange looks from people. But Pat, I'm glad you had somebody there to actually help you process that anger and help you talk that out. And so, a lot of people, one thing I want everybody to get from here, it doesn't mean that you are broken when you had some kind of childhood trauma and you still haven't processed it. It just means that you need to talk it out because you may be doing things that's creating problems in your life right now, and it's due to something that happened in your childhood. And so that's what I want you to get. And that could be the way you communicate. That could be the way you handle emotions. That can be the way when you're in a relationship, if your partner tells you something you don't like, you just explode. That could be if somebody dies, you don't know how to communicate your hurt feelings to somebody else. You just go isolate yourself and drink that away. Or, I mean, it could be a number of things because if you've never been taught how to express your emotions or regulate your emotions, um, no telling what the result is. And Pat says, yes, me too. I was blessed with that last, she saved my life. Good. The last friend, I'm thinking, the last neighbor helped save your life because the way you were able to communicate and be able to express your emotions like um, regular, which is good. Karen says, my parents, lady, I got you, Pat. Okay. Karen said, my parents helped me to learn to be confident. I used to fight bullies and would explode, but learned to walk away. It took years to get there. Excuse me. I was really scrappy and fought everybody in a snap. Oh yeah, because that's your defense mechanism is to protect yourself, especially as a child and you're getting bullied. The first thing to do is to protect yourself, and that may mean the easiest thing for all of us to do is express our anger. That takes no thought. You can get angry. That's a natural reaction when someone pisses you off. A natural thing is to just jump into anger mode, but it's harder to stop. And I used to teach a group of people who were mandated by the courts to come seek anger management. And a lot of them, they would explode in anger. I remember one man, he said he just blacked out and woke up. The next thing he knows, he had almost killed somebody. And that's how strong his anger was that just took over. So you never want to get that. It's easy to get into the anger mode, but it's harder to stop yourself and say, you know what, why am I angry? Am I upset? Am I hurt? Am I disappointed? Did that person hurt my feelings? And then the thing is, learn to walk over to the person and say, you know what, you hurt my feelings. It's not easy. I struggle with it. I'd rather just not even deal with it and walk away, but that's not a good way to handle it either. And I'm working through learning to do that better. But all of our stuff, the way we react to stuff, most of it came from our childhood. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for sharing. Thank you, Pat, for sharing. Pat says both my parents weren't available to my siblings and I. That was why I was angry. So, Pat, your parents were never there to give you that nurturing, and that's another thing. I'm glad you brought that up. When you're a baby and you don't have your mom or you don't have your dad, you're going to have, most of us are going to have problems as children and as adults. If you don't have a mother that was nurturing, that was there, that was supportive, if you don't have a dad that was there, that was nurturing and supportive, most of us who've been through that, is not, you're not going to have, your adulthood is going to be uh, a little complicated and different. So if you want to know how your parents, the way they nurtured you or didn't nurture you, look up attachment styles. If you Google attachment styles, you will see them. Attachment. So attachment styles, those are the ways that parents um, nurtured us. So there's about 5 or 6 or 7, I don't remember, but each one of them tells you, like, if your mom was there and dad were there consistently, you may have a secured attachment, meaning you're going to have a probably a more healthy, positive um, adulthood and not with a bunch of stuff. But if your parent was not consistently there, so go look up attachment styles and let me know if you read those, you don't understand those, and we can do a show on attachment styles. This is kind of the stuff we talk about in therapy because it does um, make a difference of how your parents treated you growing up. Like if they weren't there, that's going to create a problem for you. If mom was there, dad wasn't there, that may create a problem for you. If they neither one of them that were there at all, that may create a problem for you. If you were adopted, that may be an issue for some people. Not everybody. We don't want to generalize, but you know. And Pat, you said that is why I went to school to know and learn about myself. Yes, yes, and it does help. School really helps. I will read more about attachment style. Yes, you will find a lot about yourself, and I can do that, Karen. I can do attachment style review over on one of the shows. I think that's a good topic. Maybe that'll be next week. Because then we can post them on here, and then you can read the little bit about the attachment style, and then see how it impacts you as an adult. I think that's a good. Hold on, I want to skip. There you go. Okay. Karen says, my parents taught us how to handle ourselves outside of the home and to walk away. My mom would say they are not worth getting locked up over. Good. Good supportive parents being there to kind of guide you through difficult times and to show you how this is the way you probably properly handle things versus shutting down and not communicating. Oh. Okay, let's go to the next part of the question. Does anybody have any more on that topic and how childhood hurt? Sorry. And let's go to the second part. Yes, and I think that's good. Pat, I commend you too. Karen says, Pat, God bless you for putting your healing first and learning how to navigate life and to heal. Yes, Pat, I agree. I'm glad you got the help that you needed and you were able to process that. Okay, our second part of the show, our second question. Did it not? Oh. It would help if I posted it. There it goes. So we're on this question. How has social media impacted the way you view your own life? Do you feel like you are not enough due to looking at your friends and goals and accomplishments online? Or do you get depressed because your life seems so boring? And the reason I ask this question, because I see this a lot. A lot of people get on social media, they get depressed because they feel like, oh, I'm sitting at home and everybody else is doing something. They're out. There was a Seinfeld episode where he was like, where's everybody? Everybody is usually out on Friday, like having a social life and having a good time, and he felt like he was always the only one sitting. Excuse me. So I wanted to know how social media has impacted the way you view your own life. Sometimes that gets me to, I'll look on social media. I'm like, oh my God, everybody is out doing stuff. And here I am sitting on the couch, either watching TV or making my videos for my social media platforms or doing some kind of work or something. And everybody else is out having a good time. And so it does kind of make you wonder, like, what am I doing wrong? I don't have any friends. Uh, what am I doing wrong? So does anybody else feel that way? That was my little um, being open and vulnerable and saying that social media does sometimes influence the way you view yourself and, how you feel about things. What do y'all think? Oh. Some good topics. So for those who just joined, we just went over the first topic, which was how did our childhood, do we feel like we got over our childhood hurt? And then this second one was how has social media impacted the way you view your own life? And do you feel like you are not enough due to looking at your friends' goals and accomplishments online? Because I know a lot of people get really, really depressed after they've logged on to social media. They've seen somebody's profile. They feel like this person has always got something going on good. They've always getting promotions. They're making money. They're buying brand new cars and houses and always doing these things, but you feel like you're stuck. And when you see that, it's just like, Pat says, okay, let's see, we got Pat says, I'm the same thing, Dr. Ferry, but I enjoy my own space at home. I do too. I do too. But some days you do get on there, you're like, oh, I feel like I should be. I know me, like Sundays is my time because before the pandemic, like me and my friends would hang out on Sunday nights. And so every Sunday night at a certain time, I get that, like, oh my gosh, I should be doing something. I miss my friends because we used to be hanging out, doing this, and this. And so then I look on social media and I'm like, well, everybody else is out. They're just having a good time. And I'm like, oh, I miss that. But I have to agree with you, Pat, that I do enjoy my quality time and doing the work that I do because I do love making my videos. I do love doing everything mental health stuff and writing. But I love all that stuff. So that is something I do. Karen says social media can make you compare your life to others. Yes, bad thing. It's comparing yourself to somebody else on social media and send you down a rabbit hole if you aren't careful. Yes, I agree. I've had so many clients where this has happened. And so we had to come up with a plan of like, only give yourself a certain amount of social media time and then log off because that will send you down a rabbit hole, especially if you're already feeling sad or depressed. It's like, oh, well, Johnny or Sarah or Tracy or, they're just getting all these promotions and I'm still sitting here, still in my first year of college. I can't get out of this level. And yeah, it will take you down a rabbit hole if you're not strong enough. But you always got to remember that everybody's putting their best stuff out on social media. So all you're going to see is the good stuff. You're not seeing the struggles and the trials and all the stuff that they go through to get to those congratulatory moments. Hey, Tanil says, I try to keep in mind that people always post their highs. Yep. I guess I kind of read that. Never their lows. We all have low moments, but those rarely get shared. Right. And yes, that's the big point that I had to learn that though. Like especially when social media first started, you're overwhelmed with all the people just posting all their accolades and their accomplishments and all those things, and you're just like, wow, what? I know everybody's asked this question. What am I doing wrong? Like, what? Why am I not there where that person is? But you are absolutely right, Tennille. Most everybody posts their highs. Every now and then, I'll see a vulnerable person stick their neck out and put like, you know what? I'm having a low moment. You know what? I feel like everything has kept is negative that's going on in my life. I feel like I can't get a break. I've seen that one person or a couple of people do that, and that takes break. I mean, that's brave to do that. Karen says, especially since I work from home now, I may be loved being home. However, I find that I need to get out more. Yes, that is another component. I'm glad you brought that up, Karen. When you work at home, you have to balance getting out of the house with staying in the house. Because if you're in the house constantly, already all day for work, you need some kind of outlet. You need some kind of social activity to get you out the house. That's why, for me, because I work at home, but I have Zumba, but then I see my clients, my therapy clients, in the evening, and I actually I try to go to the office most of the time, but some of them I see via telehealth, but the goal is to balance that out every day of not just being in the house 24/7, because that will send you down a rabbit hole as well. And not only that, but make you start gaining weight because then you're emotionally eating because you're bored and you're just sitting there all day. And the easiest thing to do is to go eat. And Karen says everybody is putting out their best on social media. You don't see what it looks like for them to get there, right? Yeah, a lot of work goes into graduating from school. Getting that job promotion, passing that test, getting that brand new car, buying that new house. A lot of work goes into all of those things. Yeah, of course you're only going to see the end result, which we're not condemning. We're glad that people are sharing their, because I get happy for people. Like I don't have a jealous thing for me. I'm always like, oh my God, that it actually inspires me to go do the next thing. Actually, when I see other people growing and winning is what we say, or getting that new house or doing things like that, I get excited versus, wanting to be jealous about that. And Tennille says, and people fake it. I've known of marriages that are beyond broken and they will post couple pics like it's all good. So I'm always like, yes, that is a good point. That is exactly why you can never really compare yourself to somebody, because you may be like, I'm gonna use your example, Tennille, is you may be thinking that this couple they're married and everything is going well and they don't have any issues and they're just posting all these couple pics. But as soon as if you had a chance to look at them outside of that, or get into a place where you can see, sorry, let me drink some water. Yeah, if you can see what's really going on, you would be highly disappointed and probably feel bad for them. And so that's why I always, because I've been faked, I've seen that happen, you know. And when you find out that there's something totally different from what you're seeing, it's a hurt feeling. But again, it's back to reality of why you can't judge the book by the cover, basically. You can't just say, oh, they look so nice. Because we've even talked about couples on here where I think it was a few months ago where the couple, it was a pastor and his wife, and they had moved from some state to Georgia, and she ended up killing her husband and herself. But everybody on the outside looking in thought, oh my God, they were the perfect couple. Yes. Karen says, Tennille, you better preach. Yes, yes. And Pat, like you said, we all go through some life challenges. Yes. Yes. That's why I'm like, please don't think I'm ever boasting or bragging about any. Usually I done been through a lot to get to, like, that dissertation was no joke. I put on some pounds, lost some friends, was stuck in the house. Just it was just a lot to get that, and just a lot to get where I'm at, and all of us, everybody where they are in life. It took you a journey to get there, and nobody knows the ins and outs of that journey, but you. So I get why people post the positive things, because it's like, I worked hard for this, but you can't always judge. Like we were all saying, you can't always judge that book by what they are allowing us to see on the cover. There's so much stuff within that. Yep. But we all do. We all do. And no judgment. It's just, please don't base your emotions on what you see on social media, because again, it's the cover of a book that you're seeing. You're not seeing the content in the book. You're not seeing the struggles, the emotions, the negative emotions, the depression, the fights, the cheating. You're not seeing any of that, but you're just seeing the cover of the book. I like that analogy. Yeah. And then the ironic thing is Facebook. So you're just seeing a cover of the book. Any more comments? We are at 50 minutes. Where did that hour go that fast? Or time go that fast? So all good stuff, good stuff. And so we've learned to recap, the whole show tonight is childhood. We do bring some of our childhood hurt into our adulthood. And if we don't recognize it, it could be causing you problems. So it's best to, if you're struggling with anything and you don't understand yourself or understand why, it's probably best to seek a therapist to talk through your childhood. That is the first thing that I do when I get people into my therapy sessions. We talk about your childhood, because I need to see how you communicated as a child. How did you handle problems as a child? How did you go through bullying? Did you go through verbal abuse? Did you go through, did you have sexual trauma? All of that stuff is important, because that is truly going to shape. Did you lose a parent growing up? All of those things shape who you are and who you become as an adult. And then if you don't process any of that, guess what? You have a lot of what we call baggage, or a lot of stuff that you need to process. And then on to the social media aspect of our second part of our question is not allowing social media to impact us negatively, because like we all said, is that everybody puts their best foot forward on these social media sites. They always put their accomplishments, the things that they have going on, the parties that they're attending. Some people could be at a party and just got fired that day, and they don't know how they're going to pay their rent tomorrow, but they needed to go out and party just to get their minds off it. And you're thinking, oh, they're having a good time. Their life must be perfect. But tomorrow when they wake up, they got to face the reality that they don't have a job, and now they're not able to pay their rent. So that's why you can't judge by people partying, being on cruises, being on, because who knows what they're going through at that moment. Karen says, I like you, Doc. I love seeing people do well. I'm like you, Doc. I am not the jealous type. I will clap for you all day long. Yes. Yes. I mean, you never know what people have went through to get to what they, to where they need to be. And so I'm always like, yes, I clap for everybody. But thank you guys for taking the time to spend your Friday evening here with me with the Dr. Dare Show. We will have more guests if you have topics or suggestions, please email them or send them to my messenger or inbox, and we will. Yes, Pat, we're the same way. We clap for everyone. Like I don't get jealous. Now I might get motivated to go like, hey, they just did that. I can do it. You know. But thank y'all for joining. Great information. Share this video. We've talked about a lot of stuff that could probably help somebody out there who's struggling with childhood hurt or the impact of social media on their lives. So yes. Have a good evening, and I will talk to y'all next week. Good night.